my goodness. Look at all of you. We are here and we're finally together. Woo! Thank you. We so appreciate your willingness to come out in person and for showering us with your generosity and support. I also really appreciate all the precautions and the due diligence on everyone's part to keep us safe as we create a home for all here in Kansas City. We are honored to have you join us here tonight to share in the celebration of Peggy and Terry Dunn, our hometown heroes. But we also come together here to show a clear force, a path forward for us to collectively and strategically to create a community full of homefulness. I believe there is no good reason why Kansas City can't be a home for all. When we gathered here in 2018, in October 2018, I said homelessness was solvable in Kansas City. I meant it, and I saw it, and I could feel the energy coursing through our community and our partner agencies that too felt that we were on the path towards reducing and ultimately eliminating homelessness. The COVID-19 pandemic derailed those intentions very significantly. The virus continues to impact us in large and small ways each and every hour. My friends, we are off course by what this virus has done to our most vulnerable neighbors, but we are by no means beaten. When I was preparing my remarks here tonight, I had to dig deep. My initial inclination was to give you a myriad of statistics to demonstrate how fragile the homeless ecosystem is and how our efforts towards stabilizing, rehousing, and empowering households became even more deliberate to stop the massive amount of people who were reaching the tipping point towards homelessness. You know, calls into Community LINC for people requesting support for the first time, and those who were stable in the past, those calls were up 300%. And we remained open the entire time and took every single call that came our way. We supported families in crisis with over $800,000 in assistance, when the prior year we averaged around $200,000. We're talking about 4 times the amount of money to make sure households did not fall into homelessness. I'm not sure if you know this, but at this moment, our community has over 3,000 people awaiting for emergency rent and utilities assistance. There are over 1,000 in sheltered facilities and over 500 who are sleeping outside every single night. I don't know about you, but that does not feel right. And these numbers don't even include those who are marginally sheltered, being doubled up, or hiding out of sight from violent situations. And these are just some. I'm talking about just some of the statistics. But I want you to pause with me and take a look around this room. We're not beaten. We're here tonight to show our commitment and our support to our community. We're pushing forward because we simply don't know any other way. This is who we are. But I do think it's important for us to talk a little bit about the people behind the statistics and know how we collectively can make KC a home for all. There are a myriad of reasons why people become homeless, but the largest single contributor to the problem is the housing market, and we all know shelter is fundamental. When you add mental health, addiction, and the global pandemic, the concept of service-enriched housing is even more necessary. You know, we're fighting multiple crises aside from the lack of affordable housing. We're experiencing inadequate access to health care and behavioral health resources. There are far too less social networks for people to access. We've got violence, abuse, and trauma. And let's not forget some of the discriminatory practices associated with race, ethnicity, religion, gender identity, and sexual orientation, all that marginalize. You know, our city is dealing with a significant and growing unsheltered population and is trying to put forth real efforts to really lean in. But to get us all on a path that ends with a home for all, our efforts require multiple and diverse approaches, along with the political capital and investment for those necessary resources. It is time to invest in affordable and quality housing and those wraparound services that provide education, practical skills, and counseling that walk in lockstep with the families on their journey towards long-term stability. You know, simultaneously, we must take strong and concerted efforts to prevent those at the cliff from falling over. What I'm talking about, these are our neighbors who are working professionals in danger of becoming homeless if we don't act on housing affordability now. And for you all, we're talking about our neighbors who are social workers, my beloved Community LINC social workers, city workers, artist and teacher. They all earn wages, but maintaining decent and affordable housing is barely within reach. You know, if this housing crisis continues to increase at its current margin, about 20%, within 2 cycles, we're talking about affordable housing will be a thing of the past for these households. Now, when you take all these crises and heap them on someone who is sleeping under a bridge or a makeshift tent, and you tell them to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, go get a job, and you'll be able to have a home on your own. Well, my friends, we may be tone deaf to the problem. We are not listening. We are not seeing that person as a person, because no family ever chooses to become homeless. That's why we must be comprehensive. I mean comprehensive in how we interact with the family during their whole life. I'm talking about before, during, and after they get a roof over their head. Because most of the families who come to us have suffered greatly. And I want you to just take a minute to think about that. You know, a parent has lost their job. A child was sick. A mom was brutally hit. A fire ruined their home. A parent didn't have their meds. Now, think about all the resources and the safety nets that all exist in this room. We're talking about the supports that each of us have. For families with means, crises are the times where we come together. We take care of each other. We take a deep breath, and we focus on what matters most. For families with less means, it's the responses to those emergency moments that make the difference between making rent or making detrimental trade-offs, sometimes compromising the stability of one's home, and oftentimes leading to homelessness. So, while the battle is uphill to help our most vulnerable, it is in fact possible. And so we at Community LINC are focused on building a community of like-minded partners desirous to funnel the resources into the housing market and provide funds, services, and the expertise towards creating a leading-edge initiative really designed to create generational wealth. There are several of you in this room here tonight that have spent thousands of hours with us working on this effort for this past year, and we want to thank you so much for your tireless efforts. Equally, at Community LINC, we are working on strengthening our own skills to reach even more broadly into the homeless community that we serve. We use this moment in time to focus on our methodology and our partnerships to shape our worldview. We use this time to think big and give ourselves permission to try to tackle the whole issue. So when I say it is possible, I mean it is imperative to make Kansas City a home for all. Right now, I am reminded of what Father Karen said earlier this evening. No one is home until we are all home. So again, I remain vigilant when I make the statement that homelessness is solvable in Kansas City. And as we chart our next steps with your guidance and assistance, we do it for the people. We're doing it for the families from whom we have come to know and to care for, and who we love as our own families. They are the families of Community LINC, and they are all of our neighbors. And all of them want you to know they are here. They are your neighbors, they are fathers, they are mothers and children, and they too, all of them, want Kansas City to be a place they can call home. So, I want to thank you so much for being there for the families, and I want to thank you so much for being here for Community LINC. Now, I would like for you to meet some of the extraordinary people who have been successful through the Community LINC programs. These are people who have faced down more challenges than most of us could imagine, who have gambled on themselves, who have found grace and persevered. And tonight, we want to offer you a glimpse into their souls. So I'll ask you please to turn your attention to our screens and meet them now.
When people find out that I was homeless, they usually want to know what I did that made me lose my home. People just assume, I think, that my being homeless is something I did to myself. In some cases, that's true, I know. Some people do
make bad decisions and pay the price by ending up on the streets. But many more people than I bet you are aware of end up homeless because of something much more out of their control.
Well, I'm here to tell you that I was totally in control of my life. I had a job, I had a wife who had a job, but both of us were minimum wage earners. And that doesn't get you a home, not anymore. In this city, one of the greatest cities in the country, I think, at minimum wage, it takes 3 of the 4 weeks out of a month to pay for rent in KC.
That doesn't leave money for utilities or food or clothing or kids' needs.
It doesn't leave income for health coverage. It doesn't leave money to live. It doesn't leave money for a life.
Having a job doesn't mean you get a home. Not anymore.
Everyone deserves a home. I think we're all pretty much in agreement on that. Everyone deserves to be able to go to the refrigerator in the middle of the night and get a glass of milk when you can't sleep. That's not asking a lot, is it?
Everyone deserves a safe haven. Many of us cannot afford safety, though. I am so tired of feeling like I am not enough. I work, but I don't make enough to pay rent. There's not enough affordable housing out there for people who are homeless. Heck, there's not enough affordable housing there for people who have a home but struggle to pay the rent.
Even with 2 jobs, it's sometimes impossible to keep up. The tipping point is slippery. You can tumble faster than you know. KC says that affordable housing is $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Well, minimum wage, or even slightly more than that, you do the math. No way that will ever add up.
I am tired of working and trying and praying and still not being enough.
It's a little bit of a catch-22. I can't afford rent if I don't have a job. I can't get a job easily if I don't have a home. It's hard to get ready for an interview when your bathing location is the sink at the corner Quick Trip.
When I first became homeless, the reasons why are not important. But the first night, I sat in my car with my 2- and 4-year-old tucked into laundry baskets in the back seat of my car. I was overwhelmed with one thought. What do I do first? You have to figure out the first step. It's hard to get the kids off to school, get cleaned up, go to a job, or find a job when you're living in a tent.
I mean, come on. This is not me whining. This is me saying that no matter how tough a mom I am or how much I want to get out of poverty and have a home in Kansas City, no matter how much I'm committed to being like all of you sitting out there tonight, no matter how much I try, I cannot do it all at once. I need support.
I need encouragement. I need new skills.
So I too can make KC my home.
So that I too can make KC my home. I was 8 years old when I became homeless. 8. I'm gonna let that sink in. I want you to all think back to the time you were 8 years old. When I found out we had been evicted from our apartment, from our home, we got into our car and my mom just sat there. She didn't talk, didn't cry, she just sat there. It was probably the most horrible moment of the whole ordeal. For the first time in my life, my mom didn't have the answer. And it was terrifying. We started driving around, and we drove and drove until I fell asleep in the back seat. We ended up late that night at some hotel somewhere in Kansas City. I didn't know where. I didn't care where. I didn't care. Period. I was 8. Not enough.
You do not know the true meaning of the word worthless until you are a single mom who is smart and who has been educated and through a bad set of circumstances is looking at 3 small faces that she brought into the world and who are her world, and you cannot give them a clean, safe place to sleep. You do not know.
You don't know when you are a child and you find yourself being taken into this place. It said Community LINC on the door.
And you see your mom cry because it has a stove in this apartment they are giving you to stay in. And she can now cook for you again. You do not know how that feels. How good it feels to have someone to say to you, you did the best you could. And you got them here. And now we have your back because you have theirs. You do not know.
Having gone through the program at Community LINC, I can now see the organization is looking at the bigger picture. The organization is constantly pivoting to meet the ever-changing demands of what it means to be homeless in this country at this time in a pandemic. When the housing market is soaring and affordable rent for poor people really doesn't exist. You do not know.
When you walk by a person on a street who is homeless, you do not know their story, but they have one. And as hard as this may be for you to hear, their story is probably not too far away from your own. They never thought their story would be this either. Just like you, they never thought that this is where they'd end up.
They never thought that this is where they end up. Those of us who have known that story, lived that story, and somehow found the grace that brought us to Community LINC, brought us to you tonight, we want you to know.
All of us want all of you to know.
We are here.
We are your neighbors. We are your fathers.
And mothers and children.
We too, all of us, want Kansas City to be a place we can call home.
I was 8, now I'm 10, and I'm thriving. I'm here because of Community LINC and because of you.
We are here because of you.
My children and I are here because of you.
My past is my past, and I have a tomorrow because of you.
I am thriving because of Community Link and because what you will do here tonight.
My future was mine to build. I have. Because of Community Link, because of you.
I am your hope for the future. I can see there's a path to ending homelessness. It will not be easy. Some of you may fall off the path along the way, but some of you will stay with me, and together, I know we can make KC home to all. Your opportunity begins now. Thank you.